Fellas, well, the Godzilla Killer just reached 500 miles. So you can see that there. Let's see. Had to lower my rear air pressure so it'd ride smoother, but yeah, so we're getting like 12.5 maybe. I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but I don't know. It's doing something, and we're at 503 miles. So now we can officially do our tow test. So yeah, we'll be hitching up tomorrow or this weekend or something, but I'm probably gonna go weigh it, I think. And then I'm gonna weigh it with the trailer on, and then I'll test like the squat and all that stuff, even though the trailer is only like, 7,600 pounds GVW. But, that's why I bought the truck. So I'm gonna test all that. It's gonna be awesome. What do you think of that name? I think the Godzilla Killer is an awesome name. So anyways, that's it. You guys have a good day. I went ahead and I weighed the truck just a few minutes ago, so I'm gonna show you that. So we're gonna take the, that weight minus the GVW, and that's gonna give us the available payload left. So let me show you what we got going on here. So I got my truck chilling, right? So this is basically what I take camping. I take those chairs, the little table, I take my extra battery, and then I've also got the kids' car seats back here and my backpack and stuff. So this will give me a representation of what the truck's gonna weigh before I put passengers and my toolbox, which weighs about 80 pounds. So let's see. All right, one other thing to mention is I do have my weight distribution stuff right here. So this is probably, I think weighs probably about 70 pounds, and then the bars and stuff weigh more, but that's probably at least 70 pounds, I would imagine. That's kind of heavy, maybe less. Anyways, okay, so let's check out the numbers. All right, so let's check out the numbers. So we have our weight, our cat scale weight here. It says the gross vehicle weight is 7,000 pounds. We also have our steer axle and drive axle, which are not really important right now, but will be important when I hook the travel trailer to it. So we'll have to look at those numbers. But the main thing, we want to figure out what our payload is right now. So we take the 10,500, which is the GVW of this truck, minus the 7,000, and we get 3,500. So it had 3,605 as the payload, and so we're only using a little bit. And like I said, that's with 2 car seats, the weight distribution in the back, some chairs, a little kid table, my battery, and this was with me out of the truck, so it's not including me. So obviously, I'm like 230 maybe, somewhere around there. And then you load the family and stuff. So we'll see how it is once I hook the trailer up tomorrow, and we'll go from there. All right, fellas, here we go. So we got the trailer hooked up today, and got it to the new 2021 Silverado 2500 HD with the 6.6 gas. So today we're gonna test a couple things. We're gonna feel, how the truck does pulling the trailer, which I think it'll be fine. And then, excuse the dirtiness of the trailer, but we're gonna go weigh it all because I weighed the truck yesterday. Now I'm gonna weigh it with the trailer. We'll see how it does. So I wanted to hook it up. I didn't adjust my hitch height. I know it was a touch higher, but I think it's okay. So I'm gonna measure and just make sure the tongue is down just a hair. And I think it is just by looking at it, but looks can be deceiving. And we'll put the weight distribution on and we'll go take a drive. And I'm gonna drive it into work, and then at lunchtime I'm gonna go weigh it, and then we're gonna see what the difference is before and after. And hell yeah, go from there. So I already tested the lights, everything looks good. And trailer brake is detecting, so hail to the yeah. All right, next up we're gonna measure the height of the frame from the ground. Let's see if I can do this one-handed here. All right, so we're at like 17 and I call that like 3/4. That's close enough, 17 3/4. And this is at the very back. And then we'll go to the front, do the same measurement. And right now we're at, suck this tape in a little bit. We're at like 15 3/4. So when you stand back and look, like naked eye, it's pretty tough to tell. Like, I mean, it looks pretty level, but it's always good to measure. Now we're gonna put the weight distribution on, and I'm guessing it's gonna sit right about even. So let's do that now. All right, so trailer, I just put the weight distribution on. You can see how my bars, how I've adjusted the distribution. The bars are pretty well level. There might be a touch up right here, but for the most part, they're pretty level. I could adjust that head and tilt it back to make it more, but I don't think I need more because it works perfect with hanging 3 links, and this is what I did on the half ton, and we'll have to drive this and see how it does. I think it's gonna be fine because I think if you went 4, it'd be a lot of pressure, but hanging these 3, it's still a lot, and I think it's still enough to get the job done, and everything's been fine. Put the sway on the other side, and now let's measure. We'll go to the back first, measure, and then we'll come to the front. All right, so in the back, now we are at, let's call it 16 3/4. All right. So let's see what our front is. So we don't want to be front high. So if it is, we may have to adjust our hitch down a little bit. And we are at 17, right at 17. So it's a 1/4 inch higher in the front. And I would say in general, that's probably not bad. I always want to, though, keep the front lower than the back, like general rule. So a couple things I could do. I could drop a link on my weight distribution to allow more tongue weight, so it's be less transfer of weight to the front steer axles and less transfer to the travel trailer axles. But I think I'm gonna go drive it a little bit, go around the block, stuff like that. So I do have I just filled up my fresh water. It's completely full. Like I said, it sits right a little bit in front, or right kind of above the front wheel, but in front of it. So there's gonna be plenty of weight on it. I'm not really gonna sweat it, and I'm only getting on the highway for a little bit. So I'll go and drive it, I'll check the height, and then I'll decide if I'm gonna either lower my ball down a little bit or if I'm gonna make adjustments to the weight distribution. So I might do that, make an adjustment to the weight distribution, only hang 2 bars, because that really might be all it takes. So let's we'll go take a drive and see how it does. Thing to note is that the truck, I think it damn near looks stock. I definitely took a little bit of the rake out of it, but you can see the front and the back wheel, they're sitting really nice, so it looks good. And but we're gonna measure all the heights, the drops and heights and stuff like that later on. But for now, I gotta get ready and go to work, and we'll finish this up later. So we're getting ready to roll here. I had the back tires down to about 60 because I think the tires were brand new and it was a little too stiff, so I had to let them down a little bit, but I put them back to 80. Fronts are at 60 per spec of the truck. And then we're getting ready to go, so I always check everything, so I make sure, 1, 2, 3, got my pin in, go up here, looks good, got my pin in here, that ain't going nowhere, got my pin in here, she locked in. And then we got on this side, 1, 2, 3, got our pin in there, we're good to go. This is the sway right here. How I put it on is as far as I can do it. That's just the way I was taught, and it's always worked out well for me. So we're looking good. We got their chains on. They're on, they're crossed. All right, so we'll go to the back here. I always like to walk around, make sure the doors aren't, make sure kids didn't mess with my water heater door. I already checked the lights. And then I'll come over here, check this door. They like to mess with this door, so that's looking good, looking good. Pump these tires up to 65 max. And you can see there, they look pretty good. The load range seats, they'd be like looking flat, so you don't want those. So we're gonna get on out, go weigh it today. Hell yeah. I just filled up again. So I got 265.9 miles. And it took 23.3. So what did I think I got like 11.4. So yeah, it is what it is. It's a big truck. So now we got the trailer on, so let's go see what we do, or what it says we do with the trailer. So I'll reset this guy right now, and let's roll. All right, so did the first tow test. Really nice, I liked it. So this is my 26 bunkhouse travel trailer. It's about 30-ish feet long, 31. And the weight of this, the GVW, is 7,600 pounds, and the truck has a 1450 conventional towing, so I'm about half of what, you know, the truck says it can tow. Well, we're gonna go weigh it today and see what the actual payload numbers are, which I doubt we're dipping into them, but you know, we're never gonna go over on this truck, I don't think, you know, unless we put like a motorcycle or quad in the back or something, because it's got 3,600 pounds of payload. So it's gonna be good. Just a pleasant towing experience. On the freeway, I got to 65, it pulled it great. I got on the surface streets, pulled it good. The truck, it handled it well. It, you know, I mean, I could tell it was back there because I could see it in the mirror, but other than that, it did a good job. All right, fellas, well, I just went ahead and lowered this one hole. So it was up here. I just lowered it one more hole because I wanted a little bit more tongue weight. So after we run over the numbers, you'll see that I needed a little bit more, and this trailer likes it, especially with them tanks in the back. So let's measure the height unloaded, or with the weight nut on it. Right in the center there, so we'll call that like, let's call that like 40 and close to 40 and a half. Call it 40 and a half at the top of that little lip there. All right, let's check the front. So we'll call that like 39 and a half. All right, let's set the trailer on and measure. All right, so the jack's up. So the trailer is resting on it, no weight distribution. Let's see where we're at. So we'll call that 39 and a quarter. And in the front, let's call it 39 and 3/4. 39 and 3/4. All right, next up, we'll do the weight distribution stuff and we'll check it. All right, weight distribution set up. Let's measure. So the back is at, let's call it 39 and a quarter, or I'm sorry, 39 and 3/4. 39 3/4. And let's call the front 39 and a half. Yeah. All right, let's go factor some numbers and see what's up. All right, we'll talk for a sec. This is how hot it is. All right. Those tires, I set them at 80 this morning in the rear. They're both at 91. The fronts, I set at 60. They're at 66 right now. It's a $1.09 at my pad. And when I left work, it was a solid 118. So that's like in the lowest part of the valley. And it was hotter than a mug. But anyways, truck never got hot. It did well. Yeah, let me turn it around. Let's talk for a minute. All right, so in general, the truck did fantastic. I mean, this morning it did great. It wasn't windy. Like right now, like it's pretty dang windy. Yeah, the wind's moving pretty good. And it always whips through town. And like with the other truck, what I would do is like, whenever I tow home in the afternoon from work, like when I took it to dump the tanks or whatever, like I would cruise through town like just a little bit because the traffic's slow, and then once I got to a street that like cut over, I would just get off the freeway because it sucked. But this one here, I was able to cruise through town. Once I passed the construction, I cruised through town about 60, just because it was the appropriate speed for the traffic. And then once I kind of got past all the action, I went 65. And it was okay. I mean, I think for just testing it, it did well. I think if, you know, with it being as windy as it is, I think I would have probably gone to like 60 something. Now in the old truck, I would have either got off the freeway or I would have probably been going like 55, 50, somewhere around there. So truck did well. Even through town, it did good. You know, it wasn't stressing out when it was pulling off of lights. Wasn't stressing out to stop the truck, wasn't moving me around. But on the freeway when it's windy, I mean, it's a bumper pull travel trailer, it's gonna move you around a little bit. But it was a way less drastic than the half ton. You know what I mean? Like it was doing its thing back there, but it never like scared me or anything. It just, you know, moves around. And it depends on which way the wind's blowing, because if it's blowing like one way hard and then you get a car or truck that's passing there, you know, it's going to stop that wind for a minute and then it's going to hit you, you know what I mean? So never blew me out of the lane or anything, but it did well. I don't know, I'm happy. You know, I think it's well worth the couple extra bucks a month I'm spending on it, and it's going to do good when we go on our trips, because it did really well today. I towed it over to the weigh station. Did great on the way over. On the way back, it did fine too. The only thing I did after that is I lowered my hitch just a little. I just wanted a little bit more tongue weight on there, because like I said, my tanks are in the back, so I know like right now it's ideal because the water, the fresh water is full, and it's actually just like right before the front axle, so it's adding more tongue weight. But once that weight gets transferred to the back, it's going to be doing that. And so I think my tongue weight was pretty well right on how I had it this morning, but I knew that, you know, when I'm using it and towing it back from the spots with all the tanks full, because all those 3 tanks, if you didn't miss my video before, I talked about it, like there's a gray tank, a galley tank, and a black tank. And so as you're draining the fresh tank, it's all going into those tanks, and all those tanks are behind the rear axle. So they're basically from the rear axle to the bumper. So, you know, that weight comes off the tongue and it moves to the back. And so I always want to counteract that. And I'll take a little more tongue weight. The truck can handle it. And that's how I towed with the half ton. And you might, I don't know, maybe you'll feel things more, but I always want to err on more tongue weight. That's just me. But it ain't a crazy amount. So, yeah, so I got the numbers here. Let's roll over some of the numbers, see what we got going down. All right, so now I adjusted this. I'm going to put this up on the screen so you ain't going to be seeing my ugly mug. You'll be looking at this piece of paper, but I adjusted it so for the gas yesterday, since I got gas afterwards. So the truck empty, the steer axle was $39.85, drive axle's $31.95, and the gross was $71.80. So it was $7,000, and I figured $180 for the fuel. And I kind of, depending on, you know, like, or actually where the tank is, I kind of, you know, figured out how that split was, and I kind of went from there. All right, so anyways, then we have the truck plus the trailer with the weight distribution. I didn't weigh it without the weight. The frickin' truck stop was so busy, I wasn't gonna frickin' do all that. So $38.60 on the steer, $39.60 on the drive, and the trailer was $59.80. So gross was $13,800. So $13,800. So then when you minus the gross from before and after, it gives you the $66.20. And then it took 125 pounds off of the front axle and put 765 on the rear axle. So that's kind of how that worked. Even with the weight distribution hitch, kind of crazy, right? All right, so the truck GVWR is 10,500. The trailer weight was 6620, and the truck gross, and this is the truck gross with the trailer on it, is 8620. All right. So then I figured, so I already have car seats in here, and I already have some stuff in the bed that I take with me. So I factored in passengers. So I figured me, the wife, the 2 kids, and then the gear that they bring. So that's all factored into that weight. And then the cargo. So I have a toolbox that I always bring. And so that cargo number is like toolbox plus if I throw something else in the bed. So available payload left, you know, after I load the kids and the passengers and some cargo, is like, it's still almost 2,000 pounds, so 1,880. So we're doing good there. And then over here to the right, it's just basically truck info if you care. How it, the height of it, unloaded and loaded. So unloaded, it was 39.5 on the front. In the rear, it was 40.5. With the trailer, it was 39 3/4 in the front and 39 1/4 in the rear. So the difference was in the front about 1/4 of an inch, and then in the rear it was about 1 1/4 inches. And then the trailer with the weight distribution, after that was all set up, after I made my changes, the front was 39.5 and the rear was 39 3/4. So the front went back to where it needed to be, and then the rear, the difference was 3/4 of an inch. So I'm happy with that. And then, you know, obviously these are so damn hot right now, these tires are freaking building up some pressure. So, you know, I don't know, probably moves things around a little bit. And you know, you never know if it's always level, but I think it's pretty close. So that's how it breaks down. And I feel like this truck, with not maxing it out, with just kind of just using, you know, 50 to 60% or whatever of its towing capacity, like it felt good. It felt planted. It felt really nice, and I like it. You know, I think it's gonna make it to where when I want to go on a long trip, I'll be more, you know, I'll feel happier. I'll feel better about doing that. You know, like I said, it's like freaking, it gets, you know, it's monsoon season, and you know, the weather gets so hot and all the weather changes, so it's windy right now. I thought it did pretty good for being as windy as it was. The other truck, I wouldn't even really wanted to drive it in this kind of wind, and then this one, I went like 65, and I probably should have gone a little bit slower, but for just testing it, it was fine. So I would have probably, like normal condition, I'm on a trip, I'd have probably gone, you know, 55, 60, and I'd have been copacetic, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, appreciate you guys rolling with me. I hope you find this video useful, because I think, you know, as you can see on here, you know, we had 3,600 pounds of payload, right? So max payload was 3,605. So once we hooked our 6,600 pound trailer to it, you can see how once you loaded your family and all your stuff, and you got water in your tank and stuff like that, you know, you got 1,800 pounds left. So you figure if that was a half ton, you know, you're already using, I mean, you ain't got much payload left, you know what I'm saying? So, and you're just kind of stressing out the truck. This one did good. It downshifted well. It was more drastic, so probably transmission tuning along with the, you know, the bigger engine. It downshifted quite a bit, like driving through town, it was very noticeable. So the braking, like I think these brakes in general are better than the half ton. I know that they're bigger. So coming, you know, driving through town, when you're coming to a light, it bam, 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 it downshifts and then stops really good. You know, it's almost like you're not really towing, you know, and then taking off from the lights is fine. You can tell it's back there, but if you mash on it, it'll go. It don't care. When I was getting off the freeway, I had to speed up to get over, so I sped up to like 70 to get over in front of somebody, and she just went. She didn't care. So, you know, we're gonna do more videos on the truck, more camping videos, stuff like that, but I think this stuff is very useful. You got to keep an eye on your payloads, even if it says your truck, like mine, it says, you know, gross combined is 24,000, but conventional trailering is 1,450. So I don't know. I mean, you might be able to get close to the conventional trailering and maybe keep your payload, but if you put 1,450 and then you put 10% on your hitch, you know, you got 1,400 on it, and then you got to add all your stuff. So all that stuff takes away from payload, as you can see. And I appreciate you guys. I wanted to make this video, and it's done. Have a good weekend. Take it easy. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I appreciate you.